We're going to probe into personal feedback for self-regulation. And
you know where you are? Yeah.
What a great panel. What a great moderator.
What a great speech we just heard, I think, for everybody in the room. That was kind of nice to get a completely different perspective. Would you have the courage to wear something like that for 4 years? And then paint it afterwards? No, thank you for that. For this panel, we will have about an hour, maybe a little less. And here we will be looking at censoring used for individual feedback and how we as human beings can be empowered by the feedback we get. How can we use technology to get smarter medicine or to measure our well-being in ways that we wouldn't have dreamt of not so long ago? We will also deal with the human aspect of getting feedback. How should the feedback be given and received in order to be an incentive rather than a control mechanism? And who should be able to look into the data on how you breathe or how well you are, or if you take your medicine or not? As with the other panels, we will begin with a short introduction made by each of you, and then we will have a discussion here and hopefully also have some time for some Q&A. First, I'll introduce the panel here. We have here Neema Moraveji, is the director of Stanford Calming Technology Lab and a co-founder of SPIRE. He has been a researcher at Microsoft and holds a PhD in augmented self. You can say that you are changing the way we breathe, or you try to, at least. Then we have Zdeblick. He's the Chief Technology Officer and co-founder of Proteus Digital Health. He has holds CTO positions of K2 Optronics and Redwood Microsystems. At Stanford, he has invented advanced technology that has enabled atomic force microscopy. He holds several academic degrees in fields as engineering, architecture, aeronautics, and astronautics. That is a wide range, you know, anything with A, yeah. Marcelo Guimaraes, how is it? Guimaraes is the co-founder and the CEO of Sabia Experience, a Brazilian social and technology innovation company working with HSE, health, safety, and environment in the industry workforce. You hold a Master of Science degree in metrology and instrumentation, and you have been a guest researcher at National Institute of Standards and Technologies, and you've participated in many executive courses at MIT and also here at Stanford. And then we have Hiroshi Nakajima, a senior technology specialist at Omron Corporation in Japan. You hold several degrees and has been a distinguished lecturer at the Kobe, Kumamoto, Kyoto Saga, and Osaka Prefecture universities. You've published numerous scientific articles in the field of technology that improves health, machines, and energy consumption, and has achieved many awards for your academic work. Welcome to all four of you. And let us begin with you, Neema. You will be the first one to take the stage. Okay. You're welcome.
Over there. Am I doing it from my seat or over there? I will. I shall. I don't know. I wasn't here for the earlier panel, so is it? I'm just going to do it from here. Okay. Lori, I have a new sensor for you, and I am excited to show you. And you were totally like it was planned. You were talking about breathe, 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 and how you feel tomorrow, and all these great things. I've been working on that for a few years now. My name is Neema. I run the Calming Technology Lab at Stanford. What it is a lab that studies essentially the state of mind of people and how technology can be used to shift and understand one's state of mind. As part of that, and my PhD work, the PhD was called Augmented Self-Regulation. So how can we augment an individual person's ability to self-regulate? And that means self-regulate down, but it can also mean self-regulate up, to get in the zone, to perform. Stress is not a bad thing per se. It's a kind of power that we want to use effectively and not abuse. So my talk is actually focused on this product. If there are any journalists in the room, I ask that you please don't report any of this. This is the first time that we're speaking about this so publicly. We've been kind of in our office, heads down, working on this for some time. So this is not for public release. We are going to do a pre-launch this summer, and everybody that's on the mailing list for the pre-launch, which is available at SPIRE.io, will be made aware of this before the media outlets and things like that are. So I'm wearing SPIRE right now. You may not see it. It's actually very small, very elegant, very beautiful. It's just a very small little thing. It can be as discreet as you want it to be. It can be as visible. It can be worn anywhere on the torso. Over 60% of women wear their Fitbit on their bra. So this can be worn there as well. But what does SPIRE do? Well, being healthy in today's world means both a healthy body. We've done a lot of great work in that as an industry, and a healthy mind. Well, how can technology help me have a healthy mind? There's actually, we went and surveyed pretty much all the physiological indicators that might be useful for this regard as part of my PhD work. And we focused very narrowly and deeply on the respiratory effort, the respiration signal. So SPIRE is the first and only wearable that measures respiration as accurately and as nuanced as we do. So we don't just look at how fast you're breathing. We look at the ratio between inhalation and exhalation. We look at the events, sighs, talking, laughing, holding your breath. Lori, when you were saying breathe, breathe, all of these things. It's actually the most rich and nuanced reflection of the state of mind. And there's a fascinating science behind it, but you can essentially use the respiration as people have been doing for thousands of years, as well as in the most modern studies on PTSD or getting into flow state. It can be used for a lot of different purposes. So there's, we all know what it is. It doesn't require training to use it, as well as it's kind of something that's very colloquial. Don't hold your breath. Where's your breath right now? So SPIRE is an activity tracker because our health is not just our state of mind, it's also the state of body. Where is the position of the body? How much are you sitting versus standing and lying down? On which side are you lying down of your body? And it's super accurate because it's looking at the core of your body. When you're doing this is why you get problems with accuracy with trackers. And there's some fascinating research on flow state as tied to respiration. And I can talk about it for hours. I love it. It's obviously my passion, but we can talk more about it after the fact. We also have a solution for charging. It's about once a week you need to charge SPIRE for a very small amount of time. But even that small amount of time, we want to make it beautiful, elegant, part of your daily routine. So we have a wireless charging solution. There's no cables. There's no kind of things to plug into. You just drop it on this beautiful piece of furniture, essentially, on your nightstand, and that's all you need to do. And that actually, your phone plugs into that beautiful piece of furniture as well. So no messy cables and gunk that you're kind of trying to deal with. It's just effortless. So essentially, the experience of SPIRE. This is kind of like sneak peek land here. It's not quite ready to be shown, but essentially there's a very core feedback loop that SPIRE operates on. One is it's reflecting your state of mind, and that's based on now, or what we call now-ish, just a little bit, it's like the last 10 minutes. Of course, back in time, and even a little bit of where am I heading? If I continue in this direction, where am I going? That turned out to be a very powerful piece of information. And when we surface this information to users, we do them in streaks. Why do we do streaks? Because streaks are meaningful moments. This is a phrase that we use very often at SPIRE. Human meaningful moments. Because ultimately, my opinion about these technologies is that they are for people, right? They are for us to live better lives and live the types of lives that we want to, that we aspire to. So we don't have goals in SPIRE, we have aspirations. And you're not evaluated by them, just because it's kind of tiring to be evaluated so frequently. So that's kind of SPIRE in a nutshell. We did a pilot program at LinkedIn headquarters, and we did it with employees, and it was pretty fascinating. We live in, obviously, all of us, a lot of information coming into us. But with the awareness that SPIRE delivers, and it grows one's ability to handle multitasking environments, to handle inner and external distractions, to be able to sustain focus on a task. Because once you have more awareness and regulatory ability on this very core physiological function, you have the reins on something that you didn't have before. So we're looking forward to doing more of these, yeah, that's kind of all we have to discuss right now. And I'm happy to hear questions or whatever after the panel.
Thank you, Neema.
Thank you.
And our next panelist is you, Mark.
Okay. Great. I'll let you get that up. So Proteus was started about a while back with the idea of adding electronics to existing therapies to make them more effective and more efficient. And we've now evolved towards applying that philosophy towards pharmaceuticals. And everyone thinks of pharmaceuticals. You have a new molecule, you go to the FDA, you go through a clinical trial, and it says, on average, all of you, a statistically significant percentage of you got a clinical benefit. So we will approve the medicine. And then doctors, whenever they see a patient with that disease state, prescribe the medicine, and the drugs are sold. And some of them are eaten, and some are taken properly, and some of them are not. And the results you might plot along a three-dimensional axis like this, where on the one axis you have therapeutic benefit, and that's the intended goal of any medicine. And a significant number of people get the therapeutic benefit for a given medicine. But there are a lot of people who don't take the medicine properly or not long enough. Say Lipitor, you're supposed to take it for 4 years every day. More than half of those patients actually stopped after the first year, and they got no clinical benefit. So they'd be in the center corner. And then on the other axis, you have things like side effects. And the vertical axis is the percent of the population. Now, an interesting economic fact is that if you're a pharmaceutical company, you don't really care which of those patients took your medicine. As long as one of them bought it, they didn't have to eat it. They get paid on a per-pill basis. Now, we think that's kind of like the old century. The next century is going to look at things differently. If you sell a blood pressure medicine, you won't be paid on how much that blood pressure, you won't be paid per pill. You'll be paid and rewarded or compensated if your patient's blood pressure is under control. If you're trying to help women give birth, you won't be paid by providing a service for giving birth. You'll get paid if a child is born. There's a difference. Medicine is one of those few aspects of society where people are paid on a per-piece basis and not on delivering something that actually works. Now, why is that? Part of it is it's very difficult to know when a medicine works, to track performance. Now, blood pressure is relatively easy. You can measure it. You know whether it's working or not. Not all diseases are quite so easy. Oncology drugs, is the patient still alive or not? Okay, well, that's actually not too bad either. But not all of it's. So part of our business at Proteus is to look at both, are people taking their medicines, because that gives us a hook that we can handle, look to that therapeutic event, and try to measure the physiologic responses to a given disease state. And I'll introduce that just very briefly. We've made, I guess you can't really see it there. You're supposed to be able to see it. Something wrong with the PDF. That's weird. Oh, well. There's a one square piece of silicon on the PowerPoint slide that didn't show up on the PDF. But we make the world's first ingestible sensor. And I'll show it. It's basically silicon with magnesium on the back side and copper chloride in the front side. So you can think of it as made out of bananas, which has a lot of silicon, cashews, which have a fair amount of copper, and magnesium, which is halibut. That's what you're supposed to see up there. But they're embedded in those pills over there. So if you see those little pills, they each of them have a 1 millimeter square silicon chip with those materials on side of it. And outside the body, it's inert, and when you swallow it, the chips get activated by your stomach juices and go beep, 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 and convey a little message to a wearable device that is worn on your torso, and soon will be worn all over your body, that hears the beep, 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 and says, oh, you've just taken metformin, or you've taken your Lipitor, or whatever digital medicine you've just had. This device also measures acceleration, three-axis accelerometer, measures your heart rate, conductivity of your skin, can measure breathing rate. And from that, we have a whole panel of information that we get about a patient. It can also be used in conjunction with weight scales and blood pressure cuffs and things like that. And a number of the technologies that were talked about earlier in terms of connecting this whole system with the secure network in the cloud and the algorithms that drive all of this all come to play in this device. And it comes back to be a display for the patient and for anybody the patient wishes to share that information with. We do believe that the patient owns the data. That's where it belongs, and if they choose to share it with other people. It's interesting what their friends who might be interested in their health might do with that. They might set an alarm saying, if I haven't taken my medicine, give me a call or send me a note. But don't give me a call or send me a note if I have taken my medicine, because that's a nag. Send me a call or a note if I haven't, because that's a nudge. There's a very big difference between a nag and a nudge. And our technology allows us to do that electronically, seamlessly, with a single-time setup and automatically. Following Lori's talk, this is, I didn't realize someone would make an entire presentation out of our heat map slides. But it's fantastic that you did, because I'm sitting there thinking, well, we've got slides like that. And I'll explain this one. So this is time of day along the x-axis and number of days on the vertical axis. And this is a real patient taking real medicines. This is a patient with early stage dementia, 84 years old. And here we see their medication taking behavior. And here we see their circadian pattern based on posture. So this is time of day, and the blue means they're lying down, red means they're standing up. And this person goes to bed every night at 10 p.m., wakes up every morning at 8 a.m. You can see them standing up here. And then they have a very active morning, sit down for lunch, have a fairly active afternoon, watch TV in the afternoon, stand up to, brush their teeth or whatever, and go to bed. Their children do not have to worry about this person's activity. Very regular, very repeatable. We would call that type of patient a metronome. They don't need our technology, but their children got a measurement of how dad is able to take care of his own medications. And they decide, we have nothing to worry about. Now, they might come back in 6 months and try it again and see how he's doing, and maybe 6 months after that. And at some point, they'll start seeing a shift, and they'll maybe see a shift to this next patient. And you can see just by a glance, this is a very different situation. You don't have to be very much trained to know that this person is not a metronome. This person needs careful attention. You can see that instead of sleeping at night, well, they're waking up multiple times per night, standing up, who knows what. At some point here, they're up pretty much the entire night and the entire day. This is not healthy behavior for a 90-year-old person. And in fact, this is an early warning sign that if this was in a clinical process and this was shared with the doctor, they might say, I think it's time to bring you in to see maybe your medicines need adjustment, maybe there's something else going on. And in fact, they were admitted to the hospital at the end of this time, and that's why the data stream stops. And you can see in the last week or so, got almost all sleep and just a little bit of staying awake time. A very big change in patterns. And so combining this physiologic measurement system with the medications that we're trying to use will allow us to shift the side effects, to provide the proper amount of medicine with the minimal amount of side effects. And this is important for a wide range of medications. And second, it's not just a matter of measuring these information. Ultimately, our goal is to influence behavior. And since part of our mission here at Media X is to talk about how this affects the humans and bring the people into it, our goal is actually to have interactive systems. And this is one of our favorites. We call it MedMatch. Well, this is one of my favorites, I should say. Arna Ionescu, who came out of the design school, was a teacher here at design school for a while and was also at IDEO. She came up with this idea. I think it's just brilliant. And basically, it's whenever you take a pill, one is donated on your behalf somewhere else in the developing world. Now, you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't financially do that if you couldn't prove that somebody actually took the pill. If they open up their pill cap and bottle, are you going to donate a medicine on that? Probably not. But if you actually eat it. So now this one's actually targeted for people, say, who are very wealthy, say in Atherton, who have all the money they need to take their medicines. They just still don't. Now they're not taking the medicine for themselves. They're taking it because of an altruistic urge on other behalf. So we have a variety of different interfaces, user interfaces, customized for each individual patient. My own personal favorite is that every time I'd take a pill, the English Premier League highlights would show up on my cell phone, and so I'd be taking the pill so I could watch the highlights of a soccer game. But everybody would have something a little bit different, and that's the whole idea of the customization. And the user experience would be a variety of them developed by a number of different people.
Marcelo is next.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Marcelo. I'm the CEO of a company called the Sabia Experience, which is located in the south of Brazil. And our mission is to enhance and help our clients for the safety and health intelligence for the workforce in risky industrial environments. We have a beautiful, we are located in a beautiful island in the south of Brazil, but also we have a branch office in Rio de Janeiro because of our main clients from the oil industry and the mining industry. The head office are there. And we are proud to be part of the MediaX. We are a MediaX member. These are our clients. They are from mature, very old industries. They have oil and gas, construction, mining, energy, food, transportation, and logistics. And they have risky environments. Usually those industries, those companies, they have hundreds of accidents and people die every day in their industry. It's very risky environments. And the companies are desperate to get innovation from every side, and from social science, from technology side, to help them to avoid those accidents. And in order to do that, the idea is to empower the workforce and to give them tools so that they can learn from their accidents and then can empower them to take better decisions and avoid risky behavior. And Sabia has been working many years. We tried everything from PCs, from smartphones. Usually the workforce, they can't use the cellular phones. They are not connected to the cloud. So those solutions don't fit to them. So we came up with this idea of Sabias, which is a platform. And the platform integrates the software part of it and the hardware. And we focus in the group solution. Group solution is a very powerful pedagogical methodology where they work the base of the pyramid. Usually in those industries, people, most of them are illiterate people. They don't know, they feel trapped by computers and keyboards. They hate those keyboards. So basically develop a very simple device. It's an interactive table with two screens, one with the workers can interact, and the screen where they can get information and take decision from it, and as a group. So basically developed two mechanisms we game, which is a gamified simulation of real accidents. We provide tools for the clients so they can create content based on the real cases of accidents, so the workers can work together and play and learn the root causes of the accidents. Of course, they can learn also not just from accident, but from best practices, process training as a group game. We are using the technique from Professor Byron Reeves, total engagement, so we are using gamified solutions in our software. Safety and health standard games, so it's very boring for the workers to learn from reports and from books. So we gamify those standards, how to learn to avoid accidents. content and game authoring tools with text-to-speech technology in many idioms. I'll give you some examples we are developing with overseas application. But basically, it's very important to have the content is authentic content where the workers can see themselves in the content. So the clients, the oil companies, the mining companies, create their own content, our own game using this tool. And also augmented reality tools. I'm going to give you some examples. And WeCog, it is the device, is a group interactive device. It's an international patent device. Operation in hostile and remote sites. Self-contained solution offline and sometimes online. Because sometimes they are so far away there, the plant or the work is so far away, they didn't even have internet over there. So it's a self-contained solution. And transportable. They can take in different sites, and take the devices everywhere. Easy to use and robust group interface. And here I'm going to give you some of examples, some benefits, and I have some pictures here. The main benefit is just-in-time learning from real accidents and risky behaviors. Once the company detect or measure the accident or register the accident, they transform this in interactive content and take to the workers there. You can see them working as a group, and they can try to find the root causes of the accident and learn from it. Nurturing of safety and health culture, motivated by authentic experience, meritocracy, and team spirit. It's amazing how happy and motivated the workers get when they work together as a group. There are some cooperation and competition. They want to be on the top at the edge of the best operation unit with no accidents. So they get involved and engage with that. Feedback to individuals and groups to make them more effective and safer. Worker awareness, education, empowerment, improve their capacity and lower health, safety environment, and risk and cost. You're going to see some of the pictures. Here is application in the offshore platform. The workers, you're seeing that. There is I think the lasers are here, right? Yeah, at the top. They're handling a plate with augmented reality coat, so they can see the root causes in the 3D piping, you see there. So they can decide if there was a problem there, they could cause an accident. So it's very interactive, easy to use. And you see in the top of the table, every worker has a dash space so they can take decision together. But they can take the decision, they have to negotiate. So it's good to have a peer-to-peer experience. So it's a mix of this physical and virtual experience for the group, but they keep, at the same time, keeping the individual the power to negotiate. Here is the application. It's a Brazilian mining company training Chinese workers in construction in Africa, in Mozambique. So it's very interesting to have this multicultural, because we are using text-to-speech technology so the people can create the content and you see the content in Chinese. Here is another application in the railroad installation in the south and the east part of the country. So you see the working. And what is interesting is, no matter you can put together people with different level of knowledge of informatics, different age and genders. And so as a group, it's going to work in the same way. Okay, so my final slide is the real-life limitations right now is we are dealing with very mature industries. So their culture is very conservative. So we show them the results in each case, but still they want to protect the data. They want to be in control of everything. Privacy issues for the companies and individuals is a big discussion, because we can monitor, we can have sensors and feedback, but the privacy issues is still a problem. Labor laws and industry regulations put more pressure in that. So you can't monitor every worker every time, 24 hours a day. So you can't do that. So future insights, we believe that integration with ubiquitous individual and process sensors. And I think will be interesting and to enhance the HSE, health, safety, and environment culture in ecosystems, workers, companies, and regulators. Not just the companies, not just the workers, but out the regulators, and bring them to the discussion how we can improve this HSE culture. And we have a big challenge in Brazil right now because of the pre-salt is a big reserve of deep oil, and the big challenge to protect the environment, to lower the risk for the workers and for the installations. So that's the presentation here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marcelo. And now, before the discussion, Hiroshi, you have your time.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm very pleased to be joining this wonderful panel. Thank you very much for a kind introduction to me. So far, I've learned many things. So, in a sense, far beyond my capacity. So today, I'll share with you my recent idea, so which is that. So information or knowledge is medicine for preventing disease or improve our health. So we, Omron, already provide this ICT-based health care platform. So we provide healthcare devices like this. And we also provide the services based on that data analysis. So we provided two kinds of business models. So one is that wellness application, we call it a medical link or Watashi Move, which had been started at November 2010, and the registered user is almost all 1 million. So second one is the right-hand side, so medical application. So far, we focus on the blood pressure analysis for hypertensive tension patient. So we gathered 5,000 clinics so far. So I mentioned before, so information or knowledge is a medicine. So for a lifestyle modification. So in a sense, goal is the lifestyle modification. Here's what is a lifestyle for our health? Is that very simple way: diet, nutrition, and exercise and sleep. Very simple. So our aim is to find that causality between vital signals such as weight, blood pressure, blood glucose, and lifestyle habits. So I mentioned just before, by using these healthcare devices. So I'd like to employ the weight loss program this time. So we developed a very simple weight loss program by employing a body weight meter here. So think about that. Our weight is the lightest in the morning, and the heaviest in the night, just before going to bed. In this sense, the morning weight has no influence from the lifestyle of the day. Night weight has that some influence of the lifestyle of that day. So this difference brings some information for you are managing your own weight. So ideally, so morning, night, and then you can succeed weight loss. So this device tells something important things. When you weight morning weight, the weight meter provide that goal of that night weight. So if you success, so this weight meter tells you like this. Good job. So here that one example. So This one is a rebounded weight change. Drastical change bring that rebound one. Here that successful weight change. So here that night and the morning weight here. So, but so far we observed many kind of examples like this. And we realized that. So just before I mentioned that, causality between your lifestyle and the vital is very important. But one more thing I forgot is that realized one. Is that our cognitive system. So here the behavior and the outcome is the lifestyle, habit, and vital. It's a cause and the effect. Here I would like to employ that one more important factor, that cognition. So one of the important factors of our cognitive and psychological system, I would like to employ self-efficacy. It is proposed by the Professor Bandura of this Stanford University, 1977. This idea is very, very interesting one. How much you can achieve that, change your behavior and to get outcome. Very easy to understand. And then next challenge is to measure your self-efficacy like this. So our next challenge is to quantify the three factors of them: behavior, outcome, and the cognition in the self-efficacy, right? And then we could find that these are quantified one. We could get one-to-one feedback to that users by using these four categories: performance, accomplishment, vicarious experience, verbal persuasion, and emotional arousal. Is very well known to improve your self-efficacy. So by using this kind of idea to realize right timing and the right content. This is the final slide. So personal feedback based on one-to-one, something measured. And the self-regulation related by some cognitive and psychological items. And finally, I would like to emphasize that the importance of the idea of human in the loop system. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Hiroshi. And before I ask the first question, I will ask you to think about if you have a question. Then we'll have, I'll make sure that we just have some minutes for that too, so you can get ready with your question. But I wanted to, what goes for all of you. This is a question for all of you. Have you, in your field, found signs of how the feedback? You were talking a little bit about it. How the feedback should be given from these devices in order to make us change our behavior? I mean, have you, because you know that a scale gives you a personal feedback every day. Oh, I gained weight. that will not necessarily make me lose weight. So all these feedback systems you develop, have you any ideas of how the feedback should be given to humans in order to be an incentive for us to change behavior? Can you tell us?
Yeah, it's a big question. So there's a lot of different models of behavior change. We don't have to summarize those now, but there's things like triggers, things like the path of the user, things like motivation. There's so many different aspects to what creates a behavior change. I think that I can just speak from my perspective. I think what's going to unleash the next wave of impact in this kind of behavior change impetus in the world is going to be different than what we've seen so far, which is, treating human designers and engineers treating other humans as kind of consumers that will be changed by the systems that they build, I think that's starting to kind of break down. There is no like them anymore, and instead, because the education level is much higher on average than it used to be, and people kind of know that these systems are being designed. There's more awareness of that, and as a result, there needs to be much more transparency, much more alignment with people's fundamental human values, that our fundamental human values are not to behave in certain ways. That's not what gets us up in the morning, is behaving. But we're more nuanced creatures than that. And so I think that the role of ambiguity, it needs to be acknowledged, the role of when we don't behave in a way that even we know we should, that should not constitute failure. So how do you handle that in a system whose ostensible goal is to change someone's behavior? I kind of think that, I was really inspired by Lori's talk, and it's like, probably some of the things that have changed our behavior more than anything are really just awareness and not intentionally trying to change our behavior. Now, you could argue advertising, whatever, let's kind of put that aside, but when it comes to systems. So I think that we're kind of entering this era of awareness of very different kind of new trends or, moments or whatever you want to call them. That's kind of where we're at. I can't really see beyond that right now.
So, I think it breaks down into two different categories. I think in one way, it's like one of the earlier conversations was about mechanical mom, where it's a one-on-one interaction with technology, and the technology is keeping track of your behavior, and that one-on-one interaction is trying to encourage you one way or the other to improve it. And then the other role of technology, more broadly speaking, is as a networking device that connects individuals and humans together. And my personal example for this one from my family is my two sisters-in-law who both had breast cancer. And the first thing they did after going through chemotherapy and whatever surgeries they had was to sign up for a fundraising event. And they did the walk for money. They each did this 4 or 5 years apart. But it's the exact same behavior. Now, the truth is they were both also given 5-year prescriptions for tamoxifen. And there's been some evidence of lack of adherence can decrease your survival rates. But the people showing up for those events weren't helping each other take their tamoxifen. They were raising money for cancer research. A social media device, a networking device that connects all those people in the same disease state together such that there's a competition, and they're randomly grouped to say a dozen patients together, survivors of cancer, and they're collectively, this group of 12, if they all take their medicines, 6 months from now, they get an award. Maybe an NBA star shows up and gives them an award, or maybe I used to say Lance Armstrong, but I guess that's kind of lost favor. But you can imagine some famous cancer survivor who's also an Olympian or something like that, maybe from old times, or maybe it's a politician, a local politician, or somebody else making an event out of it. And so now they're helping each other take their medicines, and their feedback is not an impersonal. It becomes someone they get connected to.
And thereby using some of the mechanics that also works with Weight Watchers or stuff like that, where you help each other, taking your medicine, doing
right.
what you
And the
what would be
technology
right for
really
you.
here is just a medium to help that interaction happen, even if people are in different cities and they converge on another event. So it's either a one-on-one system where the technology is helping to directly change the behavior, or it's a medium to connect individuals who are trying to help each other out. That's why I see it.
Okay. Well, in our case, as we work with groups, we have this social pressure. And what is interesting is because of the content about accidents, learning from accident, they have the natural incentive to learn from mistakes and to avoid it. And the thing is, what we learned from the application we have, the workers say that they have the visual memory of the root causes of the other group accident. So they talk to each other, they remember that, they put a pressure, they start learning how to take care of themselves and to the other, not just personally, but as a group. And this is the part of the accident learning. So learning from bad things, but learning from good things. is more difficult because in terms of you have a best practice from another group or another site of the same company, and people sometimes they don't see as an authentic situation from that. So in this way, we can use the gamification, some incentives. So this unit want to be more productive with less accident than the other. So we can give incentive to the positive solution.
Yeah, I wanted just to follow up with a question about gamification. Hiroshi, is that a way to go to make it more of a game or competition or awards?
Yeah. So we should do much more sophisticated feedback content. So even though now we are at the very first phase in that very top-down design by applying the idea from Nazis or something. But from now on, we could get data. So, for example, we huge amount of data of the weight change. So we could extract that very successful pattern of that weight change, weight loss. So from nowadays, we could get the data, both of that feedback, and then behavior change. So we could analyze, extract that much more suitable feedback content is could be extracted by observing behavior change and how self-efficacy change. It is my expectation in the near future.
Isn't it so that people are also very different? Somebody get motivated by winning something, and others by reassurance and comforting, or people are different. Do you think that the devices will have to develop, to acknowledge that we are quite different,
The devices might stay the same, but the data could be an open source API, and then a variety of people can develop user interfaces or games that can take that data and create the user behavior modifications. And I think what's going to happen is that these will become platforms where lots of people will be creative on top of those platforms. And so each, in our situation, patients will have a variety of interfaces to choose from over time, not right away. And it's important to separate the medical device aspect of this from the user experience. And that's a tricky thing that is still getting sorted out. And George Savage at our office is one of the leaders in our country helping to push that ball forward. But that is the ultimate goal, is that we'd have a lot of different user experiences that people can choose from, the ones that would be most influential for that individual.
Okay, I will open to the public.
Just say really quick on that topic.
Of course, you're there. And then please raise your hand if somebody will be, and go to the microphone if you want to put a question.
Yeah. So the word gamification is, buzzword, whatever. We've kind of lost sight of what it actually means. We often may think of a literal game when we hear that word, but email is a game. The way your email client is designed, you don't know this, but it is designed to influence your behavior to treat email like a game, just like a slot machine, just like an inbox is. There's so many games that we don't even realize that are dictating our behavior. So when we talk about gamification, you need to think about it as motivation, think about it as triggers, as kind of cues. Even when we're networking out after the event, there's so many games that are happening, all these degrees and people's outfits. There's tons of games. So if we think about it that way, of course there's going to be tons of gamification. We're going to want gamification on ourselves because it's fun. It's fun to navigate things and to move. So just wanted to make that.
Okay.
I just want to add on top of that is that in our case, as we are working in the top and the bottom of the pyramid, that's not just the game, but the content should be authentic. The workers must see themselves in their context. Otherwise, they're not going to be involved with that. I mean, they have to be the real authentic. That's why we developed authoring tools, so the client and the company can create their own content.
Has to be their own example. This is also
Right,
what you're
right.
telling
It's
that,
a real,
that they don't want to learn.
Yes.
Yeah.
That it's easier
Yes.
to learn from
And the
yourself than
different
from
sites,
somebody else.
They have different reality.
Yeah, that's true.
So
Okay.
that's
Is there any questions? Yeah, please.
For Neema, each other, sort of the construct of organizations?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, I mean, sorry, the question was, we did a pilot at LinkedIn, so what did we learn from that about how you might modify some of the cultural patterns of the organization, like when meetings happen and how they happen, how long they are, all these kind of things. So the LinkedIn study was done by the Director of Health and Wellness at LinkedIn. He reported the findings at a major conference in Las Vegas for all the directors of health and wellness. And we found, this study was not a longitudinal study. There's a lot more to be learned. This was very much an individual. We didn't study teams. We studied individuals. But some of the things that we found were that, look, I mean, all of us know about how we get to work, we got tons of things to do, and the game that we play with ourselves is, how much am I going to focus on one thing before I split and go to the next thing and then come back to the other thing and convince ourselves that we're getting really meaningful work done? How well are we going to convince ourselves today? How well are we going to convince this other person? So, but at the same time, we know that the other part of the game is when we do that real work and actually focus and stay focused on a task, and we can get into it. We have fun, we enjoy it, we get into, I don't want to say flow state, but we get into at least a kind of restful attention. So we were hearing a lot of those stories to address the question from individuals in the companies, much more individual stories, not the systemic stuff so far.
Well, there's a study showing that if you're multitasking, your IQ drops dramatically. Maybe that if that would show, that now you're under 80, then you might, be trying to do one thing at a time.
That's what my PhD was. It was showing that when people are multitasking, you can't actually attend to where your body and mind is at. So when you're taking in like so many channels, one of the things that's sacrificed is your state of mind, your state of body. You end up holding your breath, all these things. But if you're doing one task and you're working really hard, you can actually feel really great at the end of the day because you've stayed it and you've got a background channel in your brain that's able to kind of do that self-monitoring. When do I need to take a breath? When do I need to relax all the tension that's happening? I don't even realize it. So that's what's getting compromised during the multitasking.
And as a mother of 2 teenage daughters, I can tell the next generation, they're not able to multitask either. Nobody can. Is there any more questions from the audience? Let us see. Yeah, please.
So it kind of sounds like the overarching theme of the panel is...
Oh, yeah. The
Yeah,
microphone
please
is
go
right
to
here
the
in
microphone, then
aisle.
everybody can hear.
Yeah, so it kind of sounds like the theme of the panel is that data trumps willpower. But some people are kind of sensitive to negative feedback, and what if they simply decide to take off the tracker and just, because they don't want to be shown that they're gaining weight, or they don't want to know, like, there's a certain willpower to gather the data, even if the data trumps willpower. I guess, how do you guys see that playing out?
Well, that is so true, and I think this is the experience of many doctors, that people just won't listen,
Well, one of the first doctors we talked to about tagging medicines and making digital medicines so that we could track when people are taking them or not was a cardiologist here at Stanford, Randy Vagelos. And what he said is, I'm dealing with class 3, class 4 patients. Class 3 patients are short of breath when they walk 6 feet. Class 4 heart failure patients are always short of breath. I've been dealing with some of these patients for about 2 years, and I know half of them aren't taking their medicines. I just don't know which half it is. If you could just tell me which half is taking their medicines and which half is not, I could save a whole bunch of time during my 15-minute interview that I have with them every 6 weeks and focus on the actual clinical problem. So if we know you're not taking your medicine, we know you're not even wearing a device that's tracking your medicines, that's fine. We can have a psychologist, write a script for a psychologist to talk to you, or we can talk about why don't you want to take your medicines, and often that case is because the side effects are so bad. So we'll change the molecule and try a different molecule for you, and maybe that one will have lower side effects. So just reducing the uncertainty as to whether or not a person is or is not taking a medicine makes the whole system more efficient. It makes much better use of the doctor's time and the patient's time. And not everyone is going to want to wear any of these technologies, but that's okay. Just being able to identify those people who are able to follow along makes the system better and more accurate.
I was just going to say that what's the most successful self-tracking wearable project in the world right now. It's probably Fitbit. Let's just say it's Fitbit. I think it is Fitbit, but let's just say it's Fitbit. Were these people told they have to wear the wearable? No. A lot of them, they want the data. Now, we have to learn something from that, and that is that why are they wearing that? You might say that it's because they want to lose weight. Sure, that's part of it. But they don't. Part of the reason, for example, Fuel Band was so successful is that it's an identity thing. It's kind of like, I wear this not because I want to lose weight, because I'm an athlete, for example, in that Nike. It says something to the self and to other people. So with what we're doing, I mean, we totally believe that people are healthy. All people are healthy. They just need to be, that kind of health needs to come out. And whether or not that's factually true in a scientific sense is different from why a person would want to wear something and how we communicate to them the value of this. It's not that you're broken and need to be fixed. It's that, like, unleash what's great about you and what you know is in there and what you feels good, and like cultivate that. You know, it's like.
Branding problem, or it might be a little too complicated for us to solve in this minute. But I think we should end on this high note that on the potential of this technology, and say thank you to the panel.
Thank you.
Hiroshi, Marcelo, Mark, Neema, thank you very much, Naja.